We asked if assassinations are ever justified, right? So I think our next caller here wants to speak to that. We have Dave, a.k.a. Sapper, calling in from California. Dave, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Yeah, thank you. And I actually kind of expected, I'm surprised that I got picked, because looking at the poll numbers, there should have been like 15 or 16 people ahead of me saying they were going to call in about this, right? I can do some math.
Yeah.
Right? Why am I the only one who's actually calling in about this?
They're cowards. They're cowards, Dave. You're the only one speaking truth to power here. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Okay, so I do want to give you a little background on where I am coming from. I want to preface this by saying that what I'm going to be talking about has been cleared Freedom of Information Act since 2014, so I'm getting ahead of the trolls in the chat who might be like, oh, this person's not legitimate because he's not supposed to be talking about what he's about to be talking about. Yep,
okay,
I can talk about it. I'm good. I'm actually working on a book, but that's beside the point. So the question is, yes, are assassinations ever justified? I'm coming from a position that has actually participated in this activity on behalf of you guys, on behalf of the country, even the world.
When you say you guys, you need to be very clear here. First of all, the opinions of the callers and hosts are not reflective of the atheist community of Austin, as stated in our beginning intro. Anyway, please keep going. Assume any callers call-in story is a work of fiction. Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying that I genuinely believe that due to my actions and the actions of my fellow Special Forces brethren, that certain people are off the board, and that is a good thing.
Okay, but you don't need to be Special Forces to think that.
I was involved in, well.
Oh, no. Did we lose our caller?
Oh.
It sounds. I think we just did.
Oh.
I think we just did. Dave, I'm putting you back in the queue if you can still hear us. And the crew can let me know if they've got you again. I think they got him. I think they got him, Jimmy.
Oh, man. They were like, this guy better not talk. Yeah. Somebody was listening in.
Yeah, they couldn't let it happen. Oh, man, our whole call-in studio is having some issues right now. Oh, my gosh, Jimmy. They're on to us. They are on to us right now. That's crazy. All right, crew's gonna be looking into it. You and I can talk a little bit. Holy shit.
Yeah, all right.
What?
So
that is not the first time something like that has happened on this show. And granted, it's a bias because like we talk about this stuff a lot, but it is so funny when we talk about government shit and then a call drops.
Yeah.
It is never not funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We don't know. We just don't know, you know, what is going on. And it actually could be, it really could be somebody trying to keep us from spreading the message, keeping, what was his name? Dave, from spreading the message. But, you know, on Dave's point, like he's like, I was Special Forces and I think it's good that some people are gone, but I get it. Like the argument, it's almost a little bit of an argument from authority. Like you don't need to be Special Forces to think that assassinations are okay.
Yep.
You know, like I appreciate his perspective, but that's not any way of legitimizing or justifying an assassination or an assassination attempt. Really, the thing that serves that purpose is the reason for why it's good, not who did it. Well, maybe who did it, but
yeah, the fact is, world powers, including the United States, and this is not political, this is not anything but stating like factual information, have committed assassinations, right? Like it just happens. So it's just a question to ask, where do we draw the line here? Is there even a line to be drawn? Does it even matter in the world, you know, power vacuum that exists? Are we just in a state of anarchy? I don't know. But anyway, I think we have our lines fixed now. So I guess if the government was trying to stop us, they weren't trying too hard. We got Dave. Dave, we got you back on the line here. Can you hear us?
There he is.
Yes, I can. I just got to say, I love the conspiracy theories in the chat. People were thinking that Big Brother was catching up with us.
That's right.
It's fantastic. I love it. Life imitates art.
Truly. All right,
Yeah.
Dave, go ahead. Make your point
So,
here because we're listening.
I did catch up to. Sorry, go ahead. Did you have questions? Because I did catch up with what you were saying while we were slightly disconnected. I was listening in on the chat and listening in on you guys. So.
Well, Jimmy was just making the
I'm not
point
exactly
that
sure
you don't
where
have to
we
be special
disconnected.
forces. Jimmy was just making the point that you don't have to be special forces to justify or not justify assassination, right? Like, really, anybody can have the opinion of that. But we wanted to know why. It sounds like you
Sure, I was
may or may
trying to
not
establish
allegedly have
that
been involved in something with the U.S. government, and you feel justified in that. I'm curious as to your explanation as to why.
Well, not may or may not. I was involved with the taking out of Abu al-Zarqawi. That was part of the mission that I was a part of, and taking out Abu al-Zarqawi, who was the primary leader of Al Qaeda in Iraq at the time, was part of what eventually led to information that eventually got Osama bin Laden. I was not part of SEAL Team 6. I'm not trying to be claim any of that, but some other of my brothers were a part of that. But no, I was involved in the capping of Abu al-Zarqawi.
Okay, so was it justified?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Well, I think that's really all we wanted to get to. Was that? Hey, look, I'm not trying to dump on who are we talking to again? I'm sorry.
This is Dave.
Dave, aka
Come on,
Sapper.
man. What do you mean? Who we talking
Man,
to? Come on,
I
it's
got
right
this
there on
thing-
the lower third, Jimmy.
No, it's
Come
not.
on.
It's not. It got blocked off on my computer. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Dave,
all
aka
right, all right.
Sapper. I'm really sorry. Look, but I appreciate that. I'm sure at the time that you were taking part in this operation, that you felt like you were doing it for your country, and that's cool. I appreciate that that you would do something like that. But the question is, was it justified? Was it okay to kill this person? And then if it is that the blanket for it being okay to kill anybody that we want to kill? And I think that's the dilemma we're in.
Sure.
Where is the line drawn?
Yeah, extrajudicial killings, right? Outside of the normal rules of engagement for war.
Or are there times where it is justified? That was the poll question that I was responding to.
Yeah.
So you feel this guy who had information on Osama bin Laden, but even without that information, if this guy was in charge of a group that was going to carry out attacks against the United States, people that you were sworn to defend, that taking out that person is justified. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a good opinion. I mean, that's your opinion. I don't want to say I agree or not, although I do agree, because that's not the question that I want to answer. I think what I want to answer at large is, okay, we've got a baseline here. Killing al-Zarqawi was justified because I'm an American and I'm protecting other Americans and I don't want things to happen to Americans. Plus, now I could probably get the guy that has killed more Americans than anybody in American history. So is it okay to apply that across the board? So which killings are justified and which aren't? And that would change based on who's asking the question, wouldn't it? And so that's kind of the dilemma we're in.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay, so would it be okay?
And I know that the question was asked in the broader sense of what has recently happened with the United Healthcare CEO and Luigi Mangione. And my opinions on that are completely divorced from my opinions on what I did in service of my country.
Yes.
However,
and why? And why is it divorced? And then
there are circumstances.
And is it divorced from the assassination attempt on the president-elect? Right? That was a former American president and now going to be an American president. Somebody tried to kill him. And thank goodness he wasn't killed. Okay? Because I don't want to see our country devolve into that, but I digress. Why was it okay to kill Zarqawi and then
no?
What what about the CEO? What about Trump? What about
So I genuinely think that the assassination attempt on Trump did more harm than good, because I feel like the attempt actually improved his standing in the election. So I don't think that was a good idea at all. And I don't think that, given the fact that J.D. Vance would have still been on the ticket, that it would have changed anything, right? So so the attempt on Trump had worse effect, and even if it was successful, would have had a worse effect.
But what about if the person making the attempt on Trump felt about him? We clearly have a delay, so I'm sorry for constantly talking over you, and we're kind of doing it to each other, but thanks for working through the delay. What I want to say is, well, what if the person making an attempt on Trump, or the person who killed the CEO, saw them the same way that you saw Zarqawi, right? So I don't have a good answer. Yeah. I don't think I have a good answer. It's subjective. And I'm sorry. Speaking of subjective, I need to be more subjective too, Objectively, Dan. I'm taking over your whole show, brother.
I talk too much on this show anyway. But no, listen, there are those that say that the interests of the American State Department may not necessarily reflect the interests of the average American, right? And like, I think that this has been shown in history sometimes. I think that there have been attempts on people's lives that may or may not have been justified. It has often been said that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., all victims of the American state, right? And other people, activists, particularly left-wing activists in history, have also allegedly been targeted by the American State Department for one reason or another. So it's hard to say if we can really judge an extrajudicial body that outright kills not only people abroad, but American citizens at the will and interest of those in the powers of the state, right? That's the issue I think people have. I think there are people who do make the case, and perhaps could be argued justly so, that there are those whose lives must end in order to actively defend and protect the lives of American citizens. But what if it's not just for American citizens? What if it's just because people are saying stuff you don't want them to say, or campaigning for changes that maybe wouldn't be in the best interest for those in power? I think that's maybe more to what the question and the poll was getting at, but also I think reflects more broadly the people's interest in this particular conversation.
Sure. Also, I want to throw out people who are, there was somebody in the chat who said that they can't find the person I'm talking about, al-Zarqawi. Google Task Force 626. That is the Freedom of Information Act information on my operation that was released in 2014. So all of what I'm referring to can be found online.
Okay. But I mean, like, again, any comments on this idea of like, look, hey, maybe actually state interests don't actually align with people's interests? Like, maybe it's not awesome that people can just kind of kill people just because they think they're a threat to people? Anything for that?
No, and I feel like that's exactly what is motivating individual people, because they feel powerless and are taking it into their own hands. And that's where we get into kind of the moral question of what happened with Luigi Mangione. Did he take the power into his own hands? Was that illegal? Yes. Did he end somebody's life extrajudicially? Yes. I can still understand why he did it. I can even understand why people are celebrating him as a hero. However, as I said, I divorced this situation from what I did. What I did, first of all, even when Obama signed the order to take out bin Laden, that was all had already gone through some checks and balances through Congress and whatnot, and it was approved. like universally, like the entire is one of the few things that our entire government actually agreed on. Yes, we're taking out bin Laden. So I feel that they are different situations, and they are being viewed from different points of view, because one's on a world stage and one is kind of a working class hero. Like it's a fantasy that they are putting on him to assuage the pain that they feel over our really fucked up system.
Yeah, Dave, I just want to clarify something though. You said that Congress voted to take out Osama bin Laden. That's not true. I don't know if you meant to say something else, but Congress didn't have knowledge of that operation.
I'm saying it had approval. I'm not saying they voted to do it. I'm saying it had the full approval of all branches.
That couldn't have been, though. I mean, the commander in chief wouldn't have passed that information through the other branches before that took place.
Learning after the fact is not approval.
No. I'm talking about previous authorizations that had been established because of our response to the war on terror.
Okay, yeah. So the authorization of use of military force, the AUMF that gave them the power. But yeah, I just want to clarify for anybody listening and make sure, like, Congress has no say in what happens. None of the branches have any say.
I'm not indicating a vote. I'm saying the powers were there.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It's called the authorization of the use of military force, which was approved by Congress to go after all partners responsible for 9/11. And any president could have said, that's a partner, that's a partner, that's a partner. We'll go after them all, which is why we're still kind of in the Middle East, because that gives us blanket authority. Anyway, I digress.
I don't think there is anybody who would disagree that Osama bin Laden was a partner in that.
Well,
just saying.
I think there would be. I don't know. There's a lot of people that point to Osama bin Laden not actually doing shit later on in his life, right? Like not actually being involved in Al Qaeda and like being involved in any terrorist operations. You know, like there's people that have taken his hard drive is publicly available on the CIA's website right now. Like you can see his email correspondences with folks, and people have studied, you know, his track record on that. So I don't know. I disagree with that.
I'm not saying that he didn't have anything to do with 9/11. I mean, he certainly took credit for it. And he certainly was involved with Al Qaeda. And I'm not saying that he didn't fall under the AUMF. I'm just saying that the AUMF extends, you know, it's kind of like a blanket policy. So for Congress to authorize that gave presidents, succeeding succeeding commanders in chief blanket authority to kind of operate wherever they wanted to. So that's kind of but we're digressing a little bit. In the grand scheme of things, we've agreed that, you know, or maybe it's okay to take some people out, but where do we draw the line? I think I really want to get to that. Like, how do we figure out who not to kill? And how do we figure out who to kill? I don't know if there's a good answer.
I'm not sure I have the right answer to that question. That's definitely not. I mean, like I said, I'm very confident that the operation that I was a part of was valid and justified. I'm not confident that I can necessarily decide whether or not other circumstances are justified. That's a tough. I don't think any of us really can sit here and make that call for sure one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you at least you feel justified, right? Is it just because the perceived threat against the American public? Is that primarily your justification there?
Well, not just perceived public, but actively the threats that this person was. This person, Abu al-Zawahiri, he was the major. He was the guy in charge of most Al-Qaeda operations in Iraq. So at the time, so this was like he was the Osama bin Laden of the region.
Yeah, again, there's only so much this is a very tricky topic when you're doing a show that's produced by a nonprofit. I will say that. But we talked about this for a while, I think, and I appreciate your perspective, Dave. Just to kind of refocus here as we kind of maybe should try to wrap this up. Like, this is an ongoing topic that has been talked about for centuries, right? This idea of a just war, this idea of a just even warfare, right? And I don't know. I agree with you, Jimmy, and I think Dave as well. I don't know if there is a ultimate answer. I think it mostly comes down to people's opinions on things, which is kind of sad, but I think it's the truth of it. The truth is also America, this country, was founded on violence. We did not get here the way that we are today because we sat nicely and we're peaceful about things. The Boston Harbor ended in bloodshed, and it ended in bloodshed not just for the people living in the colonies, but the people who were living here before us, and also the people who were not even here in America, right? Lots of violence happens, and it founds a lot of people's freedoms in a way. So, like, this justification for violence sometimes is used to promote the status quo or to promote things for the way they are. And I'm always kind of skeptical of folks' arguments who make that case. I don't think, Dave, you're making that case, to be clear. But when this comes up, there is kind of this idea that it's either always okay when it's in the interest of a particular country's interest, or it's never okay. And I just don't know. It's a little bit of a gray area for me. But I think that's all the time I got for you today, Dave. Appreciate you calling in on and answering the poll question.